Well, my name is Tim Hirsch. I'm 25. I was born and raised in Brussels, right here. I'm right now practicing as a lawyer in Brussels. I went to Cornell Law for a master's in 2007, a little while back now, and was a Fulbright scholar. I got into 4 or 5 different law schools, and then I think it was just a matter of where I would have the best faculty to student ratio and what campus would be most welcoming and still close to New York City. I guess a factor that made me decide for Cornell is a mix between, it's always a mix I think, between faculty, financial and campus. I wanted to be on the real campus because I had lived in a city for 5 to 6 years, and Cornell has a beautiful campus, great faculty, small class for my program, good financial help, so all these factors made it quite an obvious choice for me. Not really, because I mean, as a Fulbright scholar, you do know you can't really stay in the US when you go. So I know a lot of students go there, especially in the legal field, thinking they're going to get a job and work in New York for a year or two. When you're a Fulbright scholar, that's kind of difficult and kind of out of the question. For the next 2 years, you have to go back to your home country. So, I mean, my goal was always to go there and really learn about the American legal system and then come back and maybe go back there after 2 or 3 years. Probably the hardest part of the whole process is the financing, because studying in America is very expensive, especially when you're European. You don't really get the whole picture until you get there. Whether fees or living costs are very high, maybe a little less so if you live outside a big city, but it's still very expensive. Coming from Belgium, I would say it's probably even more difficult because scholarships are very scarce, and outside Fulbright and the Belgian BASF, I think it's called, it's very hard to get a scholarship, very limited opportunities, so you really need to work for it. I think I got really lucky to get the Fulbright scholarship, which was the main funding for my studies, with a small funding from my school. But Fulbright was the big scholarship, the big chunk of my financing. But I would say start very early. I think it's very important. I mean, when you start looking for schools, you need to start looking for financing possibilities, and that's probably 2 years before you start going to school. Really look for opportunities, get in touch with the embassy, because they do have a lot of resources. They have people working on this full time. So really take full advantage of all the resources you have, and yeah, don't get disappointed or don't stop when you get one no, because you're going to get a lot of no's in these process when you apply to schools in America, because it's very burdensome. Whether it's the visa or the schools or the financing, it is a lengthy and tough process. So yeah, don't give up. I think comes back to my last point. I would start earlier, because I did start looking for scholarships pretty late, and basically the only one I wasn't late for was Fulbright. Because you start applying and you think, well, am I going to get in? Is it really what I want to do? And then you start getting yes, and you start getting acceptance offers, and then you're out in the blue and you have no funding. So when you start applying for scholarships in the same time. That's probably what I would do if I had to do it again. I think studying in America is really all about meeting people, and that was the best part of my experience. Étudier aux États-Unis est vraiment une opportunité de rencontrer des gens, et c'était la meilleure partie de mon voyage.